So Temple Sportswear is on a mission to create clean performance sportswear that is better for the planet, the body, and the human race. Today we have the co-founder Basil Farano with us. Thanks for joining us today, Basil.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just start from the very basics. So
Mhm.
what's the problem that you have identified with the sportswear brands out there, and how is that really impacting the people and the planet?
Yeah, so in sportswear, there are three major issues that are
Okay.
affecting the industry. The first issue is the environmental aspect, the environmental issues. So sportswear is within a group of clothing and footwear, which are currently the second largest global polluters behind the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
And sportswear certainly makes up a large portion of that category. Obviously, if you think about all the footwear, running shoes, apparel that's created every year by, some of the largest companies in the world. So environmental is definitely one issue there. The second issue that we feel is a big problem within the industry is the toxicity of the actual products, the processes in which the fabrics are made, the way the products are put together, and the dyes and chemicals that are used on those products are very toxic. And this is something that's normal for all of clothing, whether it's denim or dress shirts, suits, and sportswear, obviously. But where the issue becomes more critical is when you think about sportswear, because the use of that product, unlike what you and I are wearing right now, Naman, where we're just sitting around having a conversation, our bodies are in a very normal state of being in position without working out. But when you think about how you use sportswear, you're in an environment where your body temperature rises, the pores of
Mhm.
your skin open up, and sweat comes out to release toxins from inside your body. And what happens is that wetness, that sweat that mixes in the fabrics of your sportswear, actually releases the toxins in the sportswear, and that seeps back in through your pores, and that's causing a lot of health problems for people. So that's the second issue. The third issue is the human side of things, and
Mhm.
this is another one that's very critical to the sportswear industry and clothing and footwear in particular, is where products are sourced generally. The labor rules are very lax. Companies take advantage of this. And we would definitely say that child labor is one issue, but labor in general, when you talk about Asia specifically, even South America, Mexico, people are being taken advantage of, being
Mhm.
paid very, very low wages for a lot of very hard work. If you can imagine, these factories sometimes are operating for 11 and a half months straight out of the year.
Mhm.
Employees are required to work 12 to 14-hour days with one day off per week. There a lot of times in Asia, they are away from their families for the better part of 11 months. So those are the three main areas that, from our experience in the industry, that we felt were really critical at trying to overcome and provide solutions for.
Okay. But thanks a lot for detailing out everything. So I sort of knew about the environmental and the human aspect, not
Hmm.
in as much detail as you have told us. But I had no idea about the body. Like I had never imagined. I thought, if you're buying a sportswear brand, it's just good when you are performing sports. So
Yeah,
thanks for
this
sharing that.
is common, Naman. It's very common. I
Okay.
mean, we speak with athletes, personal trainers, people that have been in the sports and health and fitness industry for, their entire lives, 20, 30 years. And when they learn about the toxicity levels of their traditional sportswear, they're absolutely shocked. I mean, they can't believe that, like exactly as you said,
Hmm.
something that's developed and made for you to become healthier is actually in
Right.
the process making you sick, right?
Yeah. That's sad. And how's Temple Sportswear, solving this problem? So what are you guys building at Temple?
Yeah. So First and foremost, from an environmental standpoint, we
Mm-hmm.
source all of our fabrics from factories, very specific factories in Italy. And these factories are all Blue Sign certified. And Blue
Okay.
Sign certification essentially ensures that the highest human and environmental standards are used in the production process. So if you can imagine, it's a reduction in the CO2 levels that are expelled from the factories. The wastewater is clean. The product used, the chemicals used within the dyeing processes of the fabrics, the dangerous chemicals are completely removed, and they're replaced with either vegetable-based byproducts or chemicals that are proven to not be harmful for human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So that, from an environmental standpoint, is a massive leap forward from what you traditionally find in a lot of the overseas production in Asia, Mexico, South America, and so on. So that's the first thing, and that goes across the board for 100% of our product. All of our fabrics are sourced from these Italian fabric mills. Then from a human health standpoint, those same fabrics make up the basis of all of our products. So you can imagine, as an athlete, when you are wearing something that is made with clean water, does not have any dangerous chemicals or toxins embedded in them, you will feel a sense of safety when you're wearing this, that you know that there aren't any dangerous chemicals that can spew back into your body as you're working out through friction and heat and with your pores being open. And then lastly, we produce 100% of our collections here locally in Toronto, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So all the people that work in our production facilities are paid a fair working wage. They're paid above minimum wage. They get health benefits. So those are the three main steps that we've taken to obviously eliminate those three major
Okay.
problems in the industry. Yeah.
Okay. And I assume it wouldn't have been, easier to find these manufacturers. I mean, you mentioned about the Italian fabric mills.
Mhm.
How did you go about finding these manufacturers that fit into, the criteria of a sustainable and ethical manufacturer while you were building your supply chain?
Yeah, this was a really challenging part of the puzzle, actually. And if I
Yeah.
go back, I mean, really, the idea of this brand came about 7 years ago, and it took at least 4 years before we even
Okay.
found fabric suppliers that could. I mean, two things were really critical to us. One is that the fabrics we were buying had to be performance fabrics. So
Hmm.
those fabrics really had to be functional from a standpoint that the needs of an athlete. They had to be moisture wicking. They had to have the four-way stretch. They had to have odor resistance, UV protection, antimicrobial bacterial protection, all the things that an athlete would demand in their sportswear. So that's the first thing. And first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that we are perceived as a performance sportswear brand.
Hmm.
Secondarily, the critical thing was, how do you get all of those great features for athletes without any of the toxicity and the dangerous toxins that could go in? So it took quite some time to locate these factories. I mean, between myself and my partner Nathan, I have 15 years experience in the industry prior, working with an Italian sportswear brand called Kappa. And with that brand, I ran their division in Canada and for part of
Hmm.
that time in the US. So I was privy to a lot of sourcing, manufacturing processes, all these kinds of things.
Okay.
My contacts there helped quite a lot. But I think as this movement of, consumers that are very conscious about the environment and these things, I think a lot of the factories have made those initial investments to change the way that they do things, thinking about the future and how brands will be thinking about the products that they're producing in the future. So it was a
Hmm.
challenge, but we managed, thankfully,
Yeah.
and we built a great relationship with these people. And I think anybody who's ever worn any of our products will attest to the quality of the fabric and the production of them.
Yeah. I mean, it took you 4 years, so that says a lot about the depth of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a challenge, but well worth it. Well worth it. Very
Yeah.
happy with the end results for sure.
And both Nathan and you have worked in the sportswear industry before. So how did you guys, come to get together to start Temple?
A really, really silly story, but when many years ago, when I started working with the Italian brand Kappa, I was actually taking Italian lessons
Okay.
at a local university, and the teacher there, who was very similar in age to me, we became friends.
Right.
So I took lessons for about 2 years. This friend of mine ended up moving to California because he started an e-com business. And I had talked to him about launching this brand a few years
Okay.
back. And when I spoke to him, he said, I have a great friend of mine that you really need to talk to. I think you guys would connect and do great things together. And his friend was Nathan. So he connected the two of us. And yeah, we met halfway between Toronto and Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is where Nathan's from,
Right.
which is, I believe, Syracuse, New York. And we spent a couple days together, and we just hit it off, and it was a great experience. And then we ended up adding another few terrific partners, Garrett, who you've spoken with,
Right.
fantastic designer as well. So yeah, we've built a really great team here.
Awesome. Sounds so smooth, but I guess it wouldn't have been probably. There
Yeah,
are a lot
for
of
sure.
like moving elements there. Yeah.
It sounds easier when you look back on these things, but
Yeah,
in the process, it's sometimes is a bit complicated. But yes, for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah. What have there are a lot of brands which are starting these days which are focused on building sustainable and ethical supply chain. So,
Mhm.
as someone who has gone through that whole process, what would your advice be to such brands?
Well, I think there's many different ways of looking at this.
Mhm.
First and foremost, from an ethical standpoint, just as a human being, I think it's the only way we should move forward when
Right.
entrepreneurs are thinking about new business initiatives. I think we should always keep the environment, the planet in mind, human beings in mind. Who's manufacturing this product? How
Yeah.
is it made? What goes into it? I think that's, from a ethical standpoint, very critical. When you think of it from a business and financial standpoint, I think the writing's been on the wall for quite some time that the world is changing. We're moving away from our dependencies on fossil fuels. Consumers have gone through the whole organic food education process, the BPA plastic education process. Recently, we had parabens being removed from almost all health and beauty products, from
Right.
the smaller companies to the larger ones. So I think from a business perspective as well, you have to consider that when you're launching new products or new businesses, that the consumer nowadays is really thinking about these things, about the product,
Mm-hmm.
how it's made, how safe is it for them to use. So
Mm-hmm.
I think those two aspects are really critical, and I think it really will help lead most good entrepreneurs into ways that are better for the environment and better for the
Right.
human health. Yeah.
Right. Like, thanks for sharing that, Basil. Lastly, so what lies ahead for you guys? Let's say like in next 6 to 8 months, what can we
Mhm.
expect from Temple as a brand?
Yeah, so I think the next 6 to 8 months, we're definitely going to be focused on developing more wider range of product offerings. We've
Okay.
been very concise and tight with what we've been offering so far to try to understand what our customers are looking for. So I think we're probably see an expansion of that. We're probably going to become more. I guess, visible through social media. I think we're going to be making a much larger commitment to advertising our brand. But it really, the most important thing I think we can do over this period of time is education, explaining
Mm-hmm.
to people, what makes us different, why we're a safer choice than their traditional sportswear choices. And as we were talking, like you said, the one thing that really surprised you
Yeah.
was learning about the toxicity of sportswear in general. That's something that we see all the time. So I think a lot of our focus over the next short term to midterm is going to be focused on how can we educate consumers best. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much where we're
Yeah.
going, I'd say.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Awareness does play a key role here. I mean, I have learned so much from this brief conversation of ours. And I guess, like, if you have videos or reading material for people to, get more awareness around this, then that would definitely be helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, thanks a lot, Basil, for, sharing all those insights, breaking it down for us. And it's an awesome journey that you have had so far, and the way you are, helping the planet and the people. That's truly inspiring. So thanks again for joining us
Thank
today.
Thank you, Naman. I really appreciate this time. And if anybody, any one of your viewers or listeners wants to learn more about our product, they just visit our website and they can learn about some of these things that we talked about today at tmplsportswear.com. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, Naman.
My pleasure.